Kuntres Umaayan Perek base. We're going to be continuing off what we just learned. That we had someone that goes off the path of doing the right thing. Is all because of Nefesh Bahamis. And the more the Nefesh Bahamis gets him to do physical oriented things, the further away it gets him from spiritual oriented things. So Nefesh Bahamis starts off with very basic, like, hey, eat a chocolate, eat a second chocolate, have a third dessert, and then it keeps you going until you get more and more physically oriented and further away from orientation towards the soul, and then you end up in all sorts of issues. We also spoke about how the Nefesh Bahamis, the Yetzer Hara, tries to convince you that if you do a sin, there's going to be no problem. You'll be just like before. You're not going to have cut yourself off from anything. So, now, continuing. That. Okay. Perek base. Ube'emes, in truth, kol zehu mishtusei hayetzer. All these ideas and thoughts that he can go and do these silly things are all from the stupidity of the evil inclination. Aaron Sabransky used to say the evil inclination. Anyways, here's a Chassidus. So, Shematehu Mechasal Emes, that the Yetzer Hara leads him astray, and it covers over the truth. Hashem Yishmereinu Mizeh. May God save us from this. Tine, Ma Shemar Eloi Mesita B'Teva Dover. This the Yetzer Hara shows you, wow, look, this thing's so good. You're going to enjoy it. Ahu Harei Emes, in truth, Liyosh Midvarim Asurim. Since this thing is a forbidden entity, Hareze Moves V'Ram Mamish is literally death and evil. The Yetzer Hara is trying to tell you, hey, do this Aveira. It's great. You're going to love this Aveira. Plow your field with an ox and a sheep tied together or something else. You know, that's the type of Aveira Bachram do nowadays, right? So, it's really, the Yetzer Hara is like, it's going to be so good. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to be so delicious. Really, it's evil and it's bad. Like it says in Sefer Dvarim, behold, I have placed before you today the life and the goodness, and the bad and the death. So on one side you have life and good, the other side you have death and evil. Take your choice. Pick a card, any card, but there's only two cards, good or bad. You're either doing what Hashem wants, you're following the ways of the Torah, or you're rebelling against the ways of the Torah. So when someone goes and does a sin, he makes his soul descend, and there's very different terms. Moirid makes his soul go down in level, like we spoke about in all of my Maamer until now. And Uma'abe means makes coarse. You know, like when you go to the store and you can either get fine salt or coarse salt, where it's like big chunks. It makes someone thick, like a thick-headed, but not like in physical terms, in spiritual terms. You know, someone, they call them thick-headed because the idea doesn't get through. Someone could be thick physicality because the spirituality doesn't get through. So it goes down, his soul, God forbid, goes down and becomes more coarse because he takes it down to the bottomless pit. We're mocking my klippa and sitra achra into the place of the klippa and sitra achra. So what does klippa and sitra achra mean? So firstly you have klippa. You have Menachem all the way in the back. So klippa means a peel. Let's say, Menachem, what's your favorite fruit? Menachem, what's your favorite fruit?
Peaches.
Peaches, beautiful. So tell me, peaches, do you like the peel or do you like the inside of the peach?
Both.
You like both. Yeah, that's very interesting. We're going to have to explain soon that there's two types of peels. So peaches, you can eat the peel. But without getting into that discussion yet, what's your favorite type of nut?
Oranges, just with oranges.
Oranges, beautiful. So, oranges, do you like eating the peel?
No.
I'll tell you, my great-grandmother, no, it was one of my grandmother's siblings. After the war, she was very, very emaciated. She didn't have proper nutrition during the war. So she was in a hospital in a displaced persons camp, and the doctor said, you're very low in nutrients and you need a lot of potassium. So like, okay, where do you get potassium from? It's not like they lived in New York City that you could just order a couple of pills from the pharmacy.
Bananas.
Over there, they're like, oh, very good, bananas. can get potassium from bananas. The doctor said you can get potassium from bananas. Now, in post-war Germany, it wasn't very easy to get a banana. You'd have to import them from the Mediterranean, get them from Italy or somewhere like that.
South America.
So, I doubt they'd get them from South America.
That's where they grow.
Yeah, they do grow a lot of them in South America, but it's a bit of a schlep to get it from there. So, she had a cousin who was a businessman and knew someone who knew someone. He managed to get a banana. And he walks into the hospital holding, you can imagine what type of a hospital it was after the war. You know, it was probably a couple of tents with a white tents with a red cross. He walks in with a banana, and the nurse put the banana on a plate. And everyone's like, wow, you managed to get a banana. Very impressive. So the patient was sleeping then. She woke up later and she ate the banana. So then her cousin came back next day and it's like, no, how was the banana that I got you? So she's like, the banana was fine, but the peel was gross. Fine. You understand, it was the first time in her life that she ate a banana. So you have to separate the peel and the fruit, right? By the way, maybe that's what... It could be that the banana was what saved her life. I don't know. Do banana peels have potassium in them? I'm not sure. I have to look it up later. So, there's a difference between a peel and a fruit. The fruit's the good part. The peel's the covering. So, klippa is covering. Everything in the world is straight from Hashem. Everything in the world is just shining godliness. But if we just saw godliness everywhere, what would be the difference between us and angels? We would never have like really any free choice. Imagine you just walk out in the street and you'd see just Hashem. You'd be like Moshe being on Har Sinai and just Hashem's everywhere. Obviously you do the right thing. So Hashem made something called klippa, that he made a peel, a covering to hide the kedusha. So this sin comes from klippa. It comes from the hidden kedusha. It comes from something that's hiding kedusha. It's coming from a force that's there to distract you from kedusha. It's coming from the wrong side. Now we have the other term is sitra akra. Sitra akra means the other side. I'll try to explain in Perek Vav Tanya that sitra akra means the other side. What does it mean the other side? There's two sides. Either you're connected to Hashem or you're not connected to Hashem. Perek Vav Tanya makes your life very simple, very binary. Black and white, like a black and white cookie. You guys ever go to the store and buy a black and white cookie?
No.
Delicious. So, you don't like them?
Yeah.
No, too much preservatives, right? So, it's like a black and white cookie. That either you're doing what's connected to Hashem, or you're doing something that's not connected to Hashem in a revealed way. So you put your soul, when you do an avodah, you put your soul into place of klippa and sitra achra, mishalish klippas hatmeis agamri, from the ultimate 3 klippas hatmeis, the ultimate 3 impure klippas, v'oid lamatmem, even lower than them. Whoa. We need to explain things over here. Okay. Firstly, what are the klippas? So a klippa is a force, is an energy in the world that Hashem made. That just like you either when you're doing a mitzvah, you're receiving directly from Hashem. When you're not doing a mitzvah, you're receiving from the peel that covers over the force that Hashem made to kind of hide the godliness everywhere. Now the Alter is going to explain in Shiur V'Emunah about how the covering force itself is Hashem also, but that's a discussion for another time. So there's 4 types of klippa. How do I know there's 4 types of klippa? Because I read it in the Bible. You guys ever read Sefer Yechezkel? Menachem, you ever read Sefer Yechezkel?
Yeah, right after Shas.
Ezekiel. So actually we read it every year on Shavuos as the Haftarah, the first chapter of Yechezkel. We read the whole, it says, and I, Yechezkel, I was standing by the river and I saw a godly vision, and he goes on to describe his whole vision. I highly advise you guys to go take an English Tanakh and go read the whole first chapter of Yechezkel.
This is where
fascinating.
Meiser Merkava is?
Yeah, that's exactly the one. Meiser Merkava. He sees a chariot and the angels, and they had 4 faces and all the wings, and it's really cool. And you're probably not going to make heads or tails of it, but then you'll learn Chassidus, and it's going to reference it a lot. So it's good before you learn the deeper explanation to first know the simple meaning of the words. So over there, one of the things Yechezkel saw, he saw all these godly visions, and one of them was that he saw a stormy wind, a great cloud, and I think it was a stormy wind, a great cloud, one other, and then brightness all around. So the 3 things he saw, these are like negative things: a stormy wind, and a big cloud, etc. Those are the 3 impure klippas. And those are the energy for everything that's impure in the world. Then the last one is v'noiga lo saviv, a shining brightness around it. That is a type of clipper that's shining a bit. You ever heard the term the cloud has a silver lining? Imagine a big dark cloud and you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to storm today. I'm going to get drenched on the way to school. And then you see, because the sun's behind this cloud, you see like shining around it. So v'noiga lo saviv is a type of clipper that has a shining aspect to it. What does it mean it has a shining aspect? That there's some good in it that you can still redeem. As opposed to the three impure clippers that obviously everything is good in it because everything's from Hashem, but you can't redeem it. It's too deeply hidden. Klippas noiga, the shining clipper, has good in it that you can redeem. You know what it's like Menachem? We were talking about peaches before, yeah? It's like the peaches. The peaches have an edible peel. That peels are just there to protect the fruit and on the outside, but some peels are edible. Some peels you can lift up and make it into food. So if you're cracking a walnut, I'd highly advise you not to eat the shell. That's like shalosh klippas atmeis. That's going to be a terrible idea. Not really, but maybe on Pesach when we have homemade, we crack the walnuts at home in the walnut cake once in a while. There's a little bit of shell. It's not a very comfortable experience. As opposed to something like a peach, you can eat it with the peel. You can turn the peel and you can lift the peel up to the level of food. So that's like klippas noiga. Klippas noiga is the peel covering Hashem, but it's still shining to the point that you can lift it up. As opposed to the three impure klippas, then you can't lift them up. Now the Rebbe said something very, very strange over here. You ready for what he said? He said that when you do an Aveira, you take your soul to the level of the three klippas atmeis and lower than them. How can you be lower than three klippas atmeis? Those are like the lowest energy in the world. So he's going to explain over here. You ready? He's going to be quoting a lot of Tanya. Like it says at length in Tanya. Why? All the clippers they receive their chayos for kiyumam and their existence from the word of Hashem and the breath of His mouth. Like explained in Tanya, that everything exists because Hashem's creating it right now. Avalhu, but the person hester upon him, but that they receive in a hidden way, in a way of descent, a way Hashem has to really like put His energy down and dirty to get there. Therefore, they're called Elikim Acherim because they receive chayos not from the face, not from in a straight way, rather in a backwards way from kedusha. So, what does that mean, Acharayim, from the back? We said they don't receive chayos from Hashem's face, rather from His back. So, there's a bit of a problem with this. Firstly, what does it mean to receive from someone's face and from someone's back? And secondly, Hashem doesn't have a face and doesn't have a back. You know what the Alter Rebbe says in the Kuntres Umaayan Maamer in the Maimar and the Yom Kippur? He says, the Yidden have turned, Hashem says they've turned their back to me. Let me ask you ever turn your back to Hashem? It's a bit hard to turn your back to Hashem when it's everywhere. So you're going to have to keep spinning.
I don't want to reveal my status.
You don't want to reveal your level. So Yehudi, you ever tried turning your back to Hashem? You're going to have to spin and spin and spin. Hashem is everywhere. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work. So Alter Rebbe explains, no. It doesn't mean front and back. Hashem, not like a physical person. It's a marshal to explain to you that there's a way that you relate to someone in a frontwards way, and there's a way to relate to someone in a so-called behind your back way. What's in a frontwards way? You go to someone, let's say you want to give your friend a gift. You go, Menachem, you are my favorite student. I would like to present you with a beautiful, brand new copy of Kuntres Umaayan with a big smile. Yeah? Then there's a backwards way. You ready for the backwards way? That, what does it mean? Backwards? From you receive from Hashem's back. Like someone who gives something to someone he hates, that he doesn't really want to give it to him. He gives it to him he throws it backwards to him. Because he doesn't even want to look at him because he hates him so much. So just like it's a deeper concept than the physical. The physical example is you throw something to someone you really don't like, you're going to be like, take this. But the meaning of that is, you can give, sometimes you're facing someone, you can give something behind your back, you know? Sometimes someone gives tzedakah and they're like, you should have a lot of tzedakah, here's $1. And sometimes someone gives tzedakah and you're like, here's $1, you're annoying, go away. Take the $1 and get out of here. That's like giving someone behind your back. So it's not a physical aspect, it's an emotional thing. So the klippas received from Hashem in a backwards way. Hashem doesn't really want to make klippas. He only gives chayas to klippos in order to give free choice to people. What does that mean? It's not a means to itself, it's a means to an end. As opposed to giving chayas to Torah, to someone doing a mitzvah, that's a means for itself. Hashem's like, I'd love to give you chayas. When you don't want to give someone something, but you have to, you do it in like a backwards way. I have to do it. By the way, I once saw two bochrim who, in Masifta. So one of them owed the other guy $5, but he didn't want to give it to him. And they had a whole argument about the $5. Eventually, he agreed he has to give him $5. So he goes over to his friend, and he turns around and he gives him the $5 over his shoulder. Because to show him that I don't want to give it to you. Because he learned the Maamer. Fine, it was very funny. But
He doesn't care. He's getting $5.
yeah, it was actually, I think he did it as a joke more than anything. But anyways, it was
Basketball also given behind the back as a
yeah? Behind your back?
trick.
It's so you're saying the reason that they do it is because the players don't like when they pass it backwards to them. Now I get it. Now it makes sense. Okay, so we learned something new today. Look at that. So, kach. Oh, that's why they called it like Kimachayim, the Rebbe said. That the avodah zarah is called other gods. Now, obviously, there's no gods besides Hashem, but acherim and achirayim is the same word, other and behind. They are things that receive from Elikim, from Hashem, in a way of achirayim, in a backwards way. Hashem doesn't want to give them, so He's not happy to give them as a means for itself. Rather, He just gives to them chayos and keeps the klippos alive as a means to an end, so that then you go outside and you see that there's so many donuts in the street. You have free choice whether to go to shul or whether to stop and eat all the donuts off the pavement. So, now let's go weiter. Kach l'mayla. So, to l'mayla becomes panim. What's panim? Hu pnimius ratzon elyon. It's the inner will of Hashem. V'cheftzei emitim. What Hashem really wants. Asher chafetz Hashem. What does Hashem want? Hashem wants lashpia chayos. To give life l'chol akari v'lo b'setet kedusha. To all those that are close to Him from the side of kedusha. Aval sitra achra, but the sitra achra, the other side, v'atuma, the impure forces, he toyev as Hashem asher sona. It is the abomination of Hashem that He hates, like the abominable snowman. Yeah, the abomination of Hashem that He hates. So Hashem doesn't want the klippa. So why does Hashem create it? Let me ask you, why does Hashem create it? Hashem only gives it life force. He doesn't give it from the inner will. What He really wants. Hashem really wants klippa to exist. It's like someone throwing something backwards. Someone He hates, that it doesn't want to do it. So why does He do it? Menachem, if you were Hashem, why wouldn't you just end all klippa? Good question. If you were Hashem, and there's klippa and there's bad in the world, why wouldn't you just get rid of it all? What?
There's no point.
You're saying then there's no point in life. Yeah, a good point. The point is to make the free choice, in order that then the wicked who choose to do the wrong thing will be punished. And to give good reward to the righteous, who push away the sitra achra, the other side. So now we figured that out. Since the panim, the face, the inner dimension of what Hashem wants, it doesn't reside whatsoever on the other side. Even the backs of the achirayim, the indirect way of giving chayas, of kedusha, of what Hashem wants, it's not really invested in it. Rather, it stays above it and a bit removed from it. So this is something makiv we're going to have to discuss. Let me ask you, Menachem, what's better? If I need to take a video, should I use my phone light or should I get a ring light? I don't know, you tell me. Should I invest in a phone light or a ring light? So the problem with the phone light is it's in your face. So it's much better for lighting up something, but if I'm shining at my face, I'm not always ready to receive that. That's why it's going to dazzle me. I'm not going to be able to see. So I might need a ring light better because it's around, so it's something that I can receive better. So here we're learning something new about klippa. Klippa can't have a flashlight on it because it's so far removed from Hashem. It's going to just be like a deer in the headlights. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, Hashem, and it's going to cease to exist. Rather, it can only live with a ring light, where it has Hashem's energy, which is represented by light, is in around, so-called around it. What does it mean around it? Not like physically around it, like a cardboard cutout. Rather, it means affecting it in a general way, but not deeply. Let me give you an example of Makiv and Pnim. Pnim is you come to shiur and you listen and you really understand it and it really resonates with you. That means that the the flow, the expression of the teacher was deeply understood by you and it deeply permeated you. On the other hand, you have Makif, which is what? Then you go to shiur and you more or less get the point, but you don't really understand it deeply. Then it doesn't mean that the concept the teacher was teaching is around you, like a I don't know, or something that goes around someone, like a giant circle. Rather, it means it's in you, but it doesn't directly affect you. So that's the thing of our Makif. We're learning a second thing about the Klippa now. Firstly, they don't receive from Hashem's Pandim, only from Acharayim, they only receive in a backwards way. And secondly, what they do receive doesn't deeply affect them, rather it goes into the Klippa in a external, general, superficial way. Guys, if I was a Superman, I think I'd be superficial. Fine. So, Lakach. Menachem, you see the line starts with Lakach? Lakach, therefore, he makam mitzvah v'tumah Hashem yishmereinu. That's explaining our statement we started off with, why the Klippa is a place of death and impurity. Because it's not connected to life. Ki amitis achayos, because real life, hu elikus, that's godliness. Shu b'chinas elikim chayim, which God is called the living God. Because of how we know that, it says in Sefer Yirmiyah, Hashem elikim emes, and Hashem the God is true. Hu elikim chayim, he is the living God. So what's the connection between being true and living? That seems like two very nice things, but why are those bundled together? You ready to find out how truth equals living? And then we're going to find out why only Hashem is really true and only Hashem is really life. Let's find out. Pirush, meaning, Li, seeing that Hashem, Shehu Elikim Emes, that he is true God, Hareu Elikim Chaim, therefore he is the living God. Let's find out why. Dine Emes, what's true? Hu she'eini nifsek lo'elam. It means that it doesn't stop forever. Something true means something permanent. Why is that? Because if something goes away, it shows that it wasn't an absolute entity. Some things come and go. When something's absolutely true, it's something that will continue forever. So, it's based on the pasuk. You guys ever heard of the pasuk? You ever heard of the Sfas Emes? The Sefer Sfas Emes. It was the Rebbe who wrote it was known as the Sfas Emes. So, he was one of the Sfas Emes was from. Where was he a Rebbe? He was one of the Shiroshim. The Ger dynasty comes from him. I believe he was before Ger was officially Ger. Anyways, so where does he take his name from? The name comes from a pasuk. It says Sfas Emes Tikkun La'ad. The Sfas is the lip of truth will last forever. V'adar Gia Loshen Shoker, and only for a moment is the tongue of falsehood. So we see from this pasuk that truth is something permanent, falsehood is something temporary. It's very important to remember this line, because when you guys learn Tanya, and it talks about having true love for Hashem, just remember what he said over here, that truth is something that's permanent. So, Mashiach boy, you ready for this? Mashiach boy hefsek, something that has an end, a stop, a pause, nikra kozov. It's called falsehood, fake. Just like fake rivers. What's fake rivers? It's a line from the Mishnah. Because of these rivers are called fake, because sometimes they stop flowing. Some rivers, let's say there's a spring of water, it just goes and goes. Sometimes it flows more, sometimes less, but it keeps going. Some rivers are seasonal rivers. They only flow in either the winter, some of them flow in the summer. Depends where, depends when. Like, think about it. If there's a mountain range and the whole winter it's snowing, when it comes to spring, the water starts melting. And then for a few months, you're going to have a river from all the melting snow. It's going to come down to the valley. It's going to make a river. So you have some places that there's only rivers in the winter. You have other places only in the summer. Other places only in the winter because there's more rainfall. But a lot of places you have temporary So why is this called a fake river if it cuts off every now and then? Because truth is something that never stops. So this is something that's called a life. A life is something that keeps going. It doesn't disappear. You know, do you die like once every 3 weeks? No. It would be a bit of a problem if you would. You should call it solar straight away. To be sure, because of this, fake rivers, they are no good for sanctifying the para aduma water. That the para aduma, there's a whole long ritual. You could read all about it in the Torah and in the Rambam. You could read even more about it. But you know what happens? They have to take part of this. They have to take living water. They have to take water from a living source. What does it mean, living water? It means from a spring or a river that doesn't stop. You can't go to a river even if it stops once in a while. That's no good to take water from that. It's not called living water. The davka davar amiti. Davka, specifically something true, never stops. That's called alive. By the way, there's a town in Australia called Alice Springs. You notice how in the name is the name Spring? So what happened with Alice Springs? It's in the middle of Australia. Everyone in Australia lives around the perimeter, next to the ocean. That's where the water is, that's where the trees are. Most of the middle of Australia is all desert. You look at a map in color, Australia, the side is all green, the middle is all red and yellow. So in the middle of the desert, smack in the middle, is a city called Alice Springs. So some explorers went there, and they found they had rivers there. They had water. And they're like amazed, there's a water source in the middle of the desert, perfect place to make a city. You need water if you're making a city. So they set up the city, and then they found out that the water only flows half the year. Oh well. So that's called a fake river. Only half the year you have water flowing, not a very good thing to rely on. Imagine that, imagine you're one of the first explorers. One day you wake up, a bit thirsty, you go to the river, no more water. Oh well, wait 6 months. I guess I have to use the tap instead. So, what do we have here? In California, they have a big problem that the water ran dry, right? I guess it wasn't a real river or a real reservoir. It ran out. Something that stops is not a true thing. It's not true to the utmost point. Therefore, it's called alive. This is what the pasuk says. Hashem, your God, is true. He is a living God. Why do these go together? Seeing that He's a true God, that He's never going to end or diminish. Therefore, He's a living God. Live and existing. By Himself. He lives and continues existing forever, objectively, by Himself. He is a truth and alive by Himself and doesn't rely on anything else. Like we say, Baruch Hai blessed is the one who lives forever and exists for eternity. So now that we figured out that Hashem is true and therefore He's eternal, therefore He's true, therefore He's alive, what else is alive? And everything connected to Hashem is alive. Why? Because not only He's like borrowing the credentials, you're not trying to get into the conference and being like, yeah, I'm with Hashem. So you're getting into the life conference. Rather, it's because when you're connected to Hashem, Elikus, godliness, resides in you and becomes one with you. And therefore you are one with life and you are alive yourself. And that is Batul. The person is Batul Elikus. He is nullified to the godliness that's invested in him, and he connects with it. Like we're going to explain. So the person is also called life. By the way, this is the reason why the klippa can't be one with the godliness inside of it, which is hidden deep inside of it, and only a kedusha type of person can. Because to be one with Hashem, you have to make room for Hashem. Like it says in the Gemara in Saita, Hashem says about people who are egotistic and haughty, I and him cannot live in one place. Not enough room for the two of us. His town ain't big enough for the two of us. What does that mean? A person doesn't make room in himself for Hashem. Hashem can only reside in someone in the inner way, in a pnimius, in a deep way, when you make room for Hashem, when you're bottled to Elikus in you. As long as you're fighting against it, it doesn't really affect you very well. This is what it says, the Rizal say. You ready for this one? I actually was just learning this in Sikha the other day. And then we came up in our Maamer. I'm like, wow, that's cool. Asar Nikroim Chaim. 10 things are called alive. Yodi, do you think you're one of them on the list? Let's find out. Number 1 is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem. Shneimar, like it says, Hashem Elokim Emes, Elokim Chaim. This possible we keep quoting. Hashem, the God is true. He is the living God. Like we explained, the Rebbe Rashab explained this pshat, that because it's true, therefore he's living. And number 2, you ready for the next 9? The next 9 are going to be everything that's connected to Hashem. It's HaTorah Nikra Chaim. The Torah is called true. It's called life. Shneimar, like it says. How do we know the Torah is called Chaim? Everyone knows this pasuk. Eitz Chaim Hi L'Machazikim Bo. It is the tree of life for those who hold strong to it. Yeah? Eitz Chaim Hi. And then pick up. Right. And those who support it will become very rich. Yep. Reach out to me for sponsorship opportunities. So, Yisrael Nikraim Chaim. Then next one is Jews are called alive. Shneimar Atem Vatem Vekam Hashem Lekechem Chaim Kol Chaim. You are connected to Hashem your God. You're all alive today. See, I told you you're on the list. So we see in the pasuk why are you alive? Not because you decided, not because you felt like it, because you're connected to Hashem, and Hashem is the true source of life. Therefore, you're also alive. So the Yosef is talking about Hashem. Seeing that connected to Hashem, Shum Zeh Nikroim Chaim. Because of this, they're called alive. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean that if you do an Aveir, you suddenly drop dead, right? Rather, it means in a deeper sense. It means deeply alive. Connected to Hashem is a deeper meaning of being alive. It's spiritually alive, as opposed to something that's tumo or moves, something that's impure, or as someone doing a sin is on the outside superficially, he's still alive. He's still doing it. Still walking around playing bongo drums while stealing from the bank, or whatever sin he's doing. But in a spiritual sense, he's connected to the place of impurity, of death, and not connected to Hashem. So let's say in summary of what we learned today. Kitzur, summary. HaKadusha v'Atoiv, holiness and goodness, they receive their life force from the inner will of Hashem, from a deeper way. HaKlippa v'Zitra Achor, you know where the klippa on the other side gets from. They get their chayes from the outer will of Hashem. And also, it doesn't invest itself in them. It just affects them in a superficial outer surrounding way, like the ring light. It's around because they can't handle the light shining right at them. The hadvarim asurim and forbidden things. They receive their life force from the klippa. That's why these forbidden things are death and badness. But you know what happens if you connect to Hashem? You're alive. Because truth is unstoppable. It has no end. It has no stop. Hashem has no stop. Therefore, he's true. Therefore, he's alive. Therefore, all that connected to him is alive. So, you shouldn't be connected to the Sitra Achra. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Why did the Sitra Achra cross the road? To get to the other side. Fine. Good. Awesome.